about it when it comes
Public
time.
Works Committee to order.
A kid, person.
First item, given we can see we have a full complement tonight. That's wonderful. The minutes from September 26th. I would entertain a motion to either amend or approve those.
Move to approve.
I wasn't there. I suppose I could.
Then I will second those. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Any public comments? I take that as a no. Any unfinished business? We have nothing listed, so moving on to a new business. Discussion on refuse recycling 5-year contract.
So it was anticipated that Advanced would have some numbers for us tonight to look at. At our last meeting with them, it was proposed to get some numbers on weekly recycling versus bi-weekly recycling. And we are waiting back. I can close it. So without those numbers, it's hard to review and make any recommendations from this committee. The contract that we have with Advanced is up December 31st. Correct me if I'm wrong, Deb. And so it's a 5-year rolling contract typically. And this is the year that it's up. So what I'm going to recommend is we can wait for those numbers to come back for November's meeting to look at and discuss, and then bring it to council in December. Or I can bring them directly to council as an option as well, since you all sit on the council. It's more of a formality. And is it required state statute to be passed by Public Works Committee? I don't think it is. So the idea is to get some updated numbers, and then whether or not we look at doing a 1-year contract, then going out for RFP in 2020, opening up to other haulers to put numbers in. I think Advance has been our hauler for 15, 20 years now.
Yeah, they've changed different.
Yeah, they've bought out Waste Management, Viola, so on and so forth. But that's another option as well that the council will have to decide on based upon the numbers that we get back from them. So, I mean, there's really nothing that I have for you tonight. Like I said, we had a meeting last week, Tuesday, with anticipation of getting numbers. Last week, like Thursday, Friday, to put on the agenda, and we just kind of kept delaying, and they didn't get them to us. So, fortunately, we have nothing to discuss or approve tonight.
So, Mike, when you say the biweekly versus weekly, are you talking about if they would pick up recycling on a weekly basis versus every other week basis?
Correct,
And
yep.
those numbers might be different, what they're quoting us, basically?
Yep.
Okay.
It'll make
Good.
a big change.
And you said it was up December for 1 or January 1?
December 31st.
December 31st. And normally that would be a 5-year contract.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I like your idea of signing a 1-year contract and getting us the opportunity to go out
RFP.
to other companies to compare. It's always nice to,
Yeah.
What I was going to say is I like the idea, though, the weekly also,
Mm-hmm.
because I know for families, it's tough to, our recycling's always full in a week. And so it's just, I would rather promote the recycling than the temptation to put it in the garbage because your recycling's overflowing. So I like that idea of getting both of those quotes.
Yeah. Okay. Will do.
Yes, 2 thoughts on that. One is, do we know, for example, what River Falls charges are, what kind of contract they have? Is there somebody that we could compare to for this year even?
Compare to, I mean, yeah, there's.
New Richmond just went to a single hauler for residential, not commercial. In my opinion, single hauler is the way to go. It's a lot less, it's lot less impact on your roadways, your alleyways. You're only having one truck, go through a neighborhood a week compared to if you have multiple haulers, you have 3 to 4 trucks going through a neighborhood a week. The point of service, and so to me, it makes a lot of sense to go to stay single hauler. But I think, like Sarah said, going out for RFP to see if other companies can compete with Advanced. Every once in a while, you got to keep a company honest, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a good idea. If you're going to be single hauler, you need to evaluate.
Yeah, it's
Who else wants the business?
in hindsight, we should have done it this year, but we're 2 months away from a contract expiring. It's hard to put together RFP, especially to change out a supplier
Right.
for the whole city in 2 months' time.
Do you think that they're going to be open to a one-year continuation?
We'll see.
We cross our
We'll bridge
fingers.
that conversation, right?
Yeah.
And see if they're not, or they really fluctuate their numbers, or
That's kind of what they presented to us, and we asked for, just not.
nonchalantly. Yeah, we'll have that conversation with them. Absolutely.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep.
The other piece is, since this touches every citizen, do we need opportunity, like a public hearing or an opportunity for citizen input that we would go above and beyond the normal, it's on the agenda type of thing? Is that something?
We haven't ever done that, I think.
I remember.
I think what could really happen
Yeah.
is you're going to get the people who are really unhappy.
This was kind of one.
That's who's going to come. You're not going to get the people who are happy. The percentage, it's their responsibility to handle the customer service, and they've handled it quite well. I mean, that's one thing I can honestly say that I've had. I don't know how they are with the public, but we've had good luck when we have the public calling us, and then we have to revert to them. It seems like the problem's resolved. So. But it's up to you, I guess.
It was, this was one of the first issues when I came on the council that I actually, that was actually even semi-controversial. So I kind of remember grilling the people about performance and particular things like picking up yard waste. They were really pathetic. And it's only this year they've done really well. Last 2 years, they missed a lot. So
I'd say
but they've
that's probably
stepped
the
up.
number one complaint is the yard waste.
Yeah.
It's a huge complaint of residents.
I mean, not them doing what they said that they're going to do. I know we have a yard refuse problem.
Yep.
That we're not going to solve with this contract, but them doing just picking up the bags when they're supposed to. Okay, I think we need to keep our kind of. I'm not sure I guess I don't know how to get public input on this other than to make sure it's on the agenda and it's obvious and that we don't put it in the.
Do an informational meeting, once you decide on the contract, and then, you could.
The other thing that Advance has said that they'd be willing to do is come and present to council, give a year-to-date summary. This is, the programming, these are some of the issues, this is how much tonnage of refuge we took out of the city, so on and so forth. State of the industry, recycling industry, because a lot has changed in the last 5 years, especially in the recycling industry. So,
That would be good.
Yeah.
And that would be the opportunity then.
yep.
So would that be a presentation
maybe
at the start of the meeting type of thing,
Yep.
or is it?
A presentation at the start of the meeting. Yep.
Good. No, I think
I'd like that too, and I would like them to address the yard waste. That one's a big one for me, because it's my understanding, because I did it for a few years, where I had to buy or purchase extra service from them in order to have my yard waste picked up. And I think most homeowners have yard waste, and I hate to see my neighbors and friends put it in the garbage can, and that's what they're tempted to do because they have to pay extra. And if they don't have enough to warrant that, it's a big container. It's larger than your average receptacle. So to pay for that and have space for that and have it by the side of your house, and then they don't show up often enough, and they get frustrated. And I just hate to see yard waste go in the regular garbage. That circles back to a topic that was discussed at the last meeting where compost, a public compost for yard waste and leaves would be something I think that St. Croix County or would really benefit the residents to have access to something like that.
Yeah.
That maybe go back to some education of the citizenry, because you can just buy a single bag, or you buy a pack of 5 bags for a couple bucks, and then you buy tags as you need them. And that's what I do, because I can't justify the
Container.
container, but I can have a bag sitting in my garage that I slowly fill up over, depending on the windstorms, gradually fill that up. So that's another possibility. And I see that if you had a lot of yard waste, that 90 or 95 gallon container or something like that, that huge container they have be very valuable. But at peak periods of time, like we're going into now with leaf time, is when we really have no solution to it. So, but that, we're not talking about that tonight. Okay, so when do you think, do we agree that this does not need to come back to Public Works? Or do we want to?
We don't have much of a choice.
Right.
Yeah,
Just go to
the
council.
presentation, and hopefully they'll agree to the 1 year to
Right.
give us a chance in 2020 to see what else is available to cities like our size.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
I think what I'll do is I'll have them just draft 2 separate contracts then, one for 1 year, one for 5 years. See if, hopefully the numbers stay the same.
Yep.
And then council can decide from there. We'll put as many options in front of you as possible.
Oh, fabulous.
okay. And next item, discussion on memorial policy.
So this was kicked back to the Public Works Committee from council for Public Works to review the memorial policy adopted in 2009. And it applies to fountain statues, monuments, sculptures, plaques, murals, public artwork, plants, trees, benches, park or playground equipment, pavilions, other similar structures. And we've run into a situation that is being questioned with a memorial that was recently installed up on Prospect Park. And so it was referred to the Public Works Committee to review and make any adjustments to the policy on how we want to handle memorials into the future. So I guess it's my recommendation to basically develop a form that anybody that wants to put a memorial bench or tree in our parks or statue or so on and so forth has to fill out. And then it would just follow the current, on page 3, application procedures. Because right now it's a written application. A person writes down, we want to put, bench in, Lakefront Park or along, Hanley Road or whatever, along a trail, so on and so forth. Addresses it to the city administrator. Then it's reviewed by Park Board, Plan Commission, City Attorney, and then Common Council for final approval. So I guess that's my recommendation moving forward is, like I said, to develop a form so that it's consistent and then that we follow procedures. To be honest, to refer back to Public Works Committee, it should have been probably referred back to Park Board for review, seeing that a lot of the times it deals with parks, not Public Works, but.
Could I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
In the past, they
Please.
refused it.
You're on television.
Marion Weber, River Valley Trails, 604 Grandview Drive. I'm sorry, just came out. But in the past, I've been present at a meeting where a person was refused to be able to put a memorial bench in Lakefront Park. The bench is there, but it couldn't be a memorial bench. It doesn't have any identification on it or anything. And what the county's doing is they are having a memorial wall.
Mm-hmm.
So someone who wants to recognize someone, they can be on that wall. And that's as much as I know about it, but that in the past, the memorial bench was refused.
Sure. Okay. There are some communities that are going away from memorials completely in their public spaces. I don't know if we want to get that drastic, but I mean, it's, I don't know.
I look at what memorials include, and some of this is utilitarian stuff, benches and playground equipment, that's stuff that's used. Something that's statues, monuments, sculptures, to me, that's in a different category. I kind of look at things that we are using. I wouldn't be concerned about if there was a plaque that said this is donated by so-and-so. But the other piece is when you start adding structures to the park that aren't, is it art or is it a memorial, or what's the purpose of it? Then functional, I have no problem with it. Non-functional, maybe it's the engineering in me. Why do you need that? But I actually think, wow, if we start looking at 1.2 and what's a memorial, what isn't, what a mess.
So for example, in the park board meeting that we just had, we had a group come in with a piece of public artwork that they want to place in Lakefront Park. Came and presented to park board approved it. I'm going to draft an MOU, which will be reviewed by our city attorney, and it'll go to common council for final approval, but they're following that process that's currently in there, So I think it's just a matter of cleaning up some of the language in the policy. Like I said, drafting a form. Like Marion said, I mean, there's difficult situations when you talk about memorials and then declining and accepting this person and you're not accepting that person, and we get in situations where you don't want to be placed in, right? And so that's why I bring up the communities that have just getting rid of them altogether, because it's just a lot less headaches.
Well, like you said, I don't know that we want to maybe go that drastic. We already have memorials, so
Right.
dig them up.
No, we
Doesn't
wouldn't do
sound
that.
right.
Right. No, we don't want to do that.
And I actually think that the folks in 2009 that drafted and approved this policy that we currently have is pretty thorough.
Yeah.
It describes the contribution that person would have needed to make to our community, and so it's very particular in that both the park board, if it's to be a park property, and the plan commission, and a lot of people are looking at the visual and aesthetic character of the piece.
Yeah.
So I think they did a great job. That was 10 years ago. I think we just fell away from following it, it sounds like. So I'm not sure what happened with the one at Prospect Park, and it doesn't really matter much, it's there, but, so I think just enforcing the policy that we already have is what's important. And a form is a great idea, because that gives no doubt someone called the city and someone answered the questions, and they didn't say, oh yeah, come on down and fill out this form. So it just didn't happen.
Are there other memorials that we have not followed this particular policy? Or is this just
Probably
an example?
90%, Probably 90% of them.
So a lot.
So,
It's just a matter of following the policy that's on the books.
Yeah. I would concur that I think it's pretty explicit and it makes sense, and there's various levels of approval and the criteria is clear. I don't have any issues with the policy as written, so I guess maybe it's more of the enforcement or something. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think we want to lock it off so we can never do it. I think if there's somebody that's meaningful to the community, and I think that's important for our identity as a town, so.
Yep,
yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
So this goes back, we'll go back to the council with the recommendation.
Yep, I'll draft a form.
What's your recommendation?
Yep.
We haven't agreed to that yet, but.
Yep.
I think the sooner we get it in place and get the
Yeah.
form,
Yep, okay.
because we've got 3 or 4 pending more,
Is that a-
This is
Oh,
for
we
a
do.
tree. Oh, yeah, for a couple trees and a bunch.
Okay.
Do we need, could I get a motion on this?
I move to
Direct staff.
direct staff to come up, devise a form to fill out that would match the procedures outlined in this policy, and then implement
Said policy.
said policy. Yes,
Second.
do those things that are in the policy.
It's been moved and seconded that we have the Public Works Director create a form for people to use that follows the policy as written. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I would bring up then the next issue is what are we going to do about the things that we've implemented without following its policy? My recommendation would be that there's so many of them that it would be it'd be embarrassing to start with.
Yeah.
It would probably create more negativity than the fact that we've been amiss. I don't think we've done bad things. I mean, I don't think you can point a finger and say, "Oh my, this is horrible. Why did this sort of thing happen?" But there may be some examples of that. But I guess when we talk about it in council, that I could see that issue coming up.
Yeah.
We just have to be prepared to say, how many of these do you want to remove? My
Deb,
vote-
is there a comprehensive list of ones that got installed that,
We've got somewhat of an inventory of them, yeah, I mean,
okay,
and
ones that
files on
didn't,
mostly all of them, and, there's the process that the park, staff was using, obviously for the years, is if it was a bench, it was a bench. It was a tree, it was a tree. If it was something out of the ordinary, like the fish bench, the rotary clock, even the rotary benches, because they weren't our standard park benches. Anything that wasn't a standard park bench or tree, then they would just, we would just sit and we would meet with them. Our staff would go down there on site and say, "Oh, is this the location?" And they'd agree, and they'd bring the check in, you'd pay for it, and we'd order it.
But I believe a lot of that went through council as well.
The things that
Right,
were
the rotary
primarily
benches,
out
rotary
of
clocks,
the
and-
ordinary, I don't recall
Yeah,
any,
that's.
yeah. Everything else would have went through council, so. Yeah. So right now, we have, a couple trees, people, we have a couple memory trees that want to be planted. We have another bench, and those are all obviously on hold right now until decide.
I'm going to make a prediction that we'll be back revising this policy because it is really quite rigid in terms of how that person or thing has to be. It's big.
Yeah.
So to me, when I read it, I said, holy moly.
Well, and it's not that they haven't gotten that policy. People we have a memorial policy, and, they'll read it, and some do get like, "Well, forget it. I'm not going through that,"
But it
Because
is,
it's an emotional experience too. I mean,
Right.
people come in, it becomes emotional. Staff gets involved, we all get involved with it. Some are just in, out, and, there's some that are a little bit more than others, but.
Okay.
but it is.
I apologize for not following the procedures, but, when you continue to do it for years and years on end, and you just kind of that's our procedures that we're
Yeah,
dealing
no.
with.
well, I understand, and it's easy to understand, if it's a bench that matches all of our benches, thanks. You
Yeah.
just kind of go, well, thanks, or if a tree, well, we're planting trees anyway, why wouldn't we, maybe there's, maybe it's two, maybe there's a portion of our policy that says, because, I don't know that we really want the city attorney to be having to approve a bench if it matches all of our other benches anyway. You know what I mean? And that's just an example, but that's a big procedure to install a bench that matches all of our other benches.
You know, and then it's coming to a public meeting. Do they have to attend the meeting? Or, you know, can they just submit the form and, you know, staff covers it? I mean, I think they get kind of worried and concerned about that too. So.
But I also get that it's a public space, and so it's important that there's a public process for that.
right.
So I get that.
Yeah, and
So it's a delicate, I think it's a delicate balance, yeah.
Yeah, I actually think it's been handled pretty well.
yeah, we
But
thought it was.
the things that
only
the
takes one.
staff recognizes as exceptions, things that are unusual, have come up in front of the council. Maybe we didn't go through everybody, but I think we probably did. You look at some of those, I know they came up through Park Board, and I'm not sure about Public Works, but certainly Park Board and
Yeah.
and Council. So we were hitting the key steps
Yeah.
on the unusual stuff.
Well, it becomes an asset, you know, to the city, and it has a value. And so then you have to place a value on it, and so then you want to make sure that, you know, it's covered as an asset, like the clock and the bench, the rounder bench and the fish bench, and, you know, those bigger types of things. As far as a regular standard bench, it's covered under property in the open. I don't believe we've ever put a claim in for a bench,
Right.
you know, and we've had some of the benches been vandalized, so we just remove them. And, you know, we just remove them and they're gone. You know, contact the family if we can, but most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mraz, how about the Public Works operating budget?
Yeah, so I handed out prior to the meeting, 2 different budgets. One of them is Public Works budget, the second one is the Stormwater Utility budget. And so I think what I'd like to do with the Public Works Committee is just walk through the budget, highlight some areas that we had to raise, some areas that we lowered. There's some considerable jumps, and just kind of explain why. There is a budget highlight, a sheet in your packet as well that kind of outlines all of the increases and decreases. And please stop me if you have any questions. Deb has brought all of the most recent expenditure detail reports, expenditure reports. So if you have questions, what line item is it, what is it spent on, so on and so forth, please feel free to speak on that. So the process tonight is basically to get you an opportunity to chime in, give your recommendations, and then this will go forward to Finance Committee and Council for final approval. So first page, City Hall. The items highlighted in yellow are increases. The items highlighted in green are decreases. So as you can see, for city, the other thing I want to mention is none of these numbers have included any employee or staff figures. So I was just told to do operating costs and expenditures. Okay, makes sense? So the first one is just janitorial supplies, increase that to basically to reflect expenditures in both 2017 and 2018. That, even with, if Lakeview wasn't downstairs, I could see reducing that number, but now that Lakeview is in there, at least for the foreseeable year, we need to continue to provide them services, so just up that to make up those differences in expenditures.
Is that offset by revenue on their lease?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Thank you.
Because we did ask our finance director that, and she kind of recommended we increase that.
Yep. Yes. Flip the page, Public Works Administration, no changes there. Public Works Machinery and Equipment, no changes from 2019.
Where are you at,
Oh,
Mike?
yeah,
I'm sorry.
lost.
Okay. So, 1, 2, third page. Uh-oh. Sorry. I have the one in the packet.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
That's fine.
I have this. What'd you do with the other?
Here, I'll come sit by Jim, if that's all right.
Oh,
We'll
so
look at the
he's
same
gonna-
one.
Okay. Because I have nothing else.
All right, flip the page, Jim.
Did you talk about that number?
Okay, I'm on page, well, maybe we just
Start over.
got stapled wrong. Mine starts with page 2 of 18.
Mine too.
Okay,
That's because I didn't do the summary, because the summary's confusing.
okay. I gotta get my staple out.
I didn't do that. He did. I didn't make the copies.
I made them.
That's why I don't have one.
So basically just, Mike, just the ones in color are different, is that
Well,
what
see, I
you're?
started here. All right, so, start at the beginning again.
Let's start at the top.
Okay, start at the top. So, let's see, utility, water and sewer, just increased $300 to reflect, expenditures in 2017 and 2018. Reduced telephone, $1,000, from 1,400 down to 1,000. And Deb, could you look up City Hall telephone? Because like in 2017, we spent $841. In 2018, we only spent $65. So that might be something that we could reduce even further.
Or something's not getting allocated
Right,
to the department correctly.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking too. But
Right.
I'd have to look at 17 to see, but
Okay, so we'll just make a note to
Yeah.
check that one. Service repair buildings, $4,500 in 2019. 2020 proposed 14,500. So this is, and this will be a discussion that we can have at Finance and Council.
Okay, well, you lost us again.
He's
Same
right here.
page.
He's right here.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
1450.
All right.
It's on the same page. So the City Hall cupola is leaking and has been leaking for a number of years. And so any hard driving rain that the city gets, it's basically coming through third floor. There's a light fixture up there. It's coming down, it's actually dripping in buckets. And you can see that some of the drywall has started to kind of get punky in the ceiling and on the sidewall as well. We did talk to Braden Construction, David Gray and I. They're the company that's doing the windows here. Came up and took a look at it. And they gave us a number of $6,000 to remove the cupola, to remove it. That's not to restore it, okay? If we want to keep it, it's going to be more. And then also, we didn't include any of the drywall restoration work that has to happen up there. So a couple options. I included it in the operating budget. We could also take monies that have been appropriated in the CIP for City Hall for carpet and painting. We utilized, there was $20,000 set aside for this year. There's $20,000 set aside for next year. Okay. We utilized 10 grand this year, so we have 10 grand remaining. We could carry that 10 grand over and fix the problem up on third floor with that money, or we can include it in the operating. The only thing is if we spend down the money in the CIP, we won't be able to do carpeting, painting, so on and so forth. So it's just a matter of where Council, Finance, and Public Works Committee wants to see those funds taken out of. So I can leave it in for now, I can take it out.
Do we need the 10,000 for something else? Is there something else that?
The idea was to do, and the CIP was to do 10 grand, or 20 grand allocated to third floor for painting and carpet, 20 grand allocated to second floor next year for painting and carpet. The window bid came in $10,000 higher, so we reallocated money from the carpet and painting to help pay off the window replacement project, which leaves us with 10 grand. So if we reallocate that money to go to fix the cupola, it would just leave us with 20 grand next year to do carpet and painting on second floor, third floor, so.
I got it.
so then when you take it out of the operating, then it doesn't look so bad when you put
Yeah.
it into.
Yeah.
I think it would make sense to take it out of, to take that 10 grand. Because that seems
Out of
like a
this-
more serious
Out of
problem
capital.
that's gonna,
Take it out of the capital?
Okay.
yeah,
CIP?
Out of CIP,
yep.
I would too.
Okay.
That's a hit to the operating budget that's not
It's not
not
really,
really quite fair.
Right,
Right.
right.
It's not, the windows weren't on the
No,
operating
they were on
budget.
CIP. Yep, they were on CIP. Yep. Okay.
Okay,
So you're
great.
gonna reduce that back to?
I'll reduce it to 45.
4 or 5?
Yep, I'll reduce it back to 45. All right, now I think we're on the same page. Sorry about that. Janitorial supplies, kind of what I outlined prior. Everything else stays the same for 2020. Good?
Yes.
Okay.
Will this shift any as the use of the basement changes?
We will have to revisit that when Lakeview is out. And I know that there's been discussions on internally, staff level, City Hall as a whole. You know, with bringing on an engineer, we're looking at adding a GIS tech, an analyst to the city staff. You know, so third floor is getting full. And so whether we readjust some departments downstairs where we put people, so it speaks to a larger, I think we'll have to look at it next year when Lakeview is done with their contract and they're out of the building and up at the hospital. That might be the time to readjust some of these numbers.
I wonder if we need to start thinking about, there should be a factor in the budget somewhere for that. We're going to start moving people around. That it gets expensive. And I don't want some part of the budget taking a hit. We have to drag something out of here in order to make that happen, when we really know it's probably, you guys are already talking about it. You have a pretty good idea that something needs to happen. You know, some 2, 3, 4 people are going to be downstairs, maybe more.
Yeah.
But,
Then the other component, and it'll go in the CIP, or for discussion, is the overall security of City Hall. You know, it's very accessible right now. People can come and go up to the third floor as they please, so on and so forth. We'll have random people walking around the offices sometimes, and it's a little bothersome, and there's some security measures at the front desk that we would like to see installed, so on and so forth. But that'll be, like I said, that'll be a bigger expense that'll be put in the CIP and not operating.
does Aaron have this on his agenda?
We've talked to him about it, yeah, yep.
A plan for the
Yep, so we're,
structuring the building?
yep, it's on one of his things, list to do, to sit down with department heads that utilize City Hall, get a plan for, you know, office space, security, so on and so forth, to look at, you know, in the next year or 2 years, what we want City Hall to look like moving forward. So, it's on his list.
Yeah, I want to see that as a separate line somewhere. You know, it can still be in the public works budget, but if
Yeah.
it has to be, that needs to be separated out. This is an unusual expense because we're going to make this improvement.
Okay.
I just don't want to see it stuck in our operating budget
Right.
and all of a sudden we're short.
Right, yeah. Disaster control on the next page. So nothing is in there. That's emergency management budget. So Scott St. Martin has taken on those responsibilities, and it's my suggestion that that budget would go underneath him in some way, so.
So that money, that amount will be, this whole item will probably move out?
Right, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't be underneath Public
Yeah.
Works. At least that's my recommendation.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
What type of disasters are supposedly budgeted in this? If we were to budget, what kind of disasters are we talking about?
So disaster control, the money that was budgeted is for like siren inspection and maintenance, if a
Okay.
siren goes down.
Okay,
And there's sandbags if we have to buy sandbags.
okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, some examples of some
Yep.
Yep.
things.
That's pretty much what it is. Sirens and.
So like if you get a bigger disaster like windstorm, you know, and a bunch of trees gets knocked down, correct me if I'm wrong, Deb, but that would come out of urban forestry budget, I would think? Contractual
Actually,
services?
if we try to just get it into one area, so then we can move it if it's a FEMA or something like that, and then it would actually probably go to this number. It kind of takes a while for that to happen, but it would just go to a disaster number so that we could track it, because
It's such a hard,
there's not really a lot of budgets that could absorb that, but.
it's such a moving target, because, I
Yep.
mean, you can't really put in a line item in the operating budget for disasters if, like this year, we really didn't run in, besides the flooding in the spring. Other than that, we got pretty fortunate with all the windstorms and stuff like that. So you'd hate to put, and typically when disasters happen, you're talking $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, right?
Right.
So to put that in
So,
operating.
our main focus is trying to get everybody who's responding to that disaster to everybody coded a certain way so that so that you can recoup the costs. And we've been trained to do that
Okay.
over the years, so by the equipment and labor and how they keep track of it, so that's, and EMS and fire, they go through the same training, so.
Thanks.
Yep. Dams, $6,700, same as last year. I'm gonna just make a note on that, because if you look at 2017 and 2018 and then actual expenditures this year, I wonder if there's a reason why it is at 6,700, or
It's
Is
it's
it for
always
maintenance as
like
well?
the maintenance for our portion
Okay.
of the percentage, with the town and the village of North Hudson and the county. We have a certain percentage. I don't know that number, who came up with it or why it has.
What dam is this for?
Lake Malibu Dam.
Okay.
Yep. And the funny thing is actually the utility department maintains and monitors the dam. Public works staff doesn't, but it's in our budget.
This has always just been in there just for strictly a payment to. So,
But I think it's worth looking into
Paying for
why it is at 6,700 and why
And
it's
why we
not.
don't ever
Pay the
pay
state
it?
of Wisconsin, a certain dollar amount. Based on the percentages.
Okay.
So there's an agreement
There's an
between,
agreement.
there's an agreement between the city, the village of North Hudson, the township of Hudson, and St. Croix County. And each entity puts money into an account to help pay for monitoring, testing, maintenance, so on and so forth, and it's broken down in percentage. I believe St. Croix County pays the most, and then the other three are dispersed equally. But there's a contract on hand, and that's kind of how that operates.
Isn't there two dams coming out of Lake Malibu, one that spills towards the south and one that spills, so is that both of them?
Yeah, it's,
The little one, I think, is more.
the little one is just an overflow spillway. It's considered a dam, but it's not, there's no mechanics or operational parts there,
Okay,
Right.
so it doesn't really require much maintenance.
right? Yeah, unless, yeah, no, it doesn't require much
So
maintenance
like when they did the telemetry, they upgraded it on the big dam, all the entities were involved with it, and they had to, met, and they all agreed on the, the bid and to accept it, and then they had to budget for, their portion of that. So this has just been an ongoing part of it.
So we receive an invoice or a bill for what's actual rather than just
Yeah, I
automatically
guess
contributing
it's-
what's,
yeah.
what we've been allocated? Okay,
I haven't really seen one but
That's probably one we
it goes
should,
through finance. I really don't have anything to do with that
Right.
bill. It just
One that
comes in and
I should
it's
look
just-
into more.
no, I'm going to say leave it there, and if we get pressure to reduce expenditures,
Look into it then.
right,
that would be one that could
yep.
be gone. We
Yep.
don't know why it's there, so if we,
We can get a little bit more clarification.
Yeah, we'll get the
it.
details and everything. And make sure that we're staying, maybe the contract
Yeah.
states that we have to have a certain percentage over for any maintenance that needs to be done, so that there's funds available. We'll look at the contract further. Emergency government, this is in lines with the disaster control. I didn't put anything in the proposed just because I'm looking to give it to Scott St. Martin.
Offload.
Yep.
makes sense.
So, okay.
We haven't expended
No,
anything.
yeah.
Oh, we know why.
Yep.
We really haven't been participating in emergency government.
Right. Because it was, EMS was responsible for it, emergency management, right? For the longest time, and then with the transition there, now Scott has taken on those responsibilities. And I know, I don't think the Public Works Department has, it's odd that it's underneath the Public Works budget.
Public Works we used to manage all of the sirens, you know, the operations of them.
Yep.
And then when they formed the emergency management through the county, then they appointed someone and then it became EMS. And
Right. And I don't know if it stayed in our budget because of the enterprise fund factor with the EMS. Maybe that's why it stayed in here. There's got to be some reason, but that's something to consider. But I mean, these will be discussions that we'll have, you know, with the finance committee and council, and Scott, you know, so.
Good.
Administration, no changes there. So on your spreadsheet, you can see, you know, there is as of 8/31/2019, so you get an idea of, and that's September, October. That's almost to the end of the third quarter, not quite. So it gives you a kind of an idea. We should be about 75% of the way through that budgeted line item, just so it gives you an idea of where we're sitting.
which are you looking for?
Oh, I'm just explaining.
Just
Oh,
general,
about
Yeah,
all
just,
of them.
yeah,
Yeah, because I'm more at I'm at the,
yeah, your
Like a
details a
month.
lot.
yeah, I'm like almost right on. I'm, as far as my printouts.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll flip the page, go to machinery and equipment. No proposed changes to machinery and equipment. Look to be on track with expenditures for 2019 to meet or come close to the budgeted items.
Now, this is just kind of the miscellaneous things that aren't on the CIP. The
Yep, so this is, you know.
shovels and hammers and,
Yep, so this is, you know, any breakdowns to our plow trucks, our loaders, backhoes, supplies the guys with shovels and, you know, things that break down. So, that's what all these expenses would be for. Anything, you know, the other contractual services under, contractual services, those are services that we hire out if our in-house mechanic can't handle, the type of repair that's required. We'll take a truck over to Nuss Truck, or we'll take a loader into Case if need be. So that's what those are there for. Public Works East Garage. So I did raise utilities, gas, $1,000, and that's to cover. So every year, so both east and west garages are heated by used oil. And 10, well, I shouldn't say 10. In years past, oil was more abundant. As cars are becoming more efficient and oil changes are being pushed out to 5,000 miles, we are not running into as much oil. And so we're having to supplement some of the heating costs with gas. And this year we have enough oil on hand, if it's an average winter, to make it through late November, December, January. And then we'll start running into some problems when it comes to February, where we'll have to start switching over to some gas to supplement the heating costs. So I bumped it up $1,000 just to, you know,
yeah.
take into consideration that we are going to be using more gas this year from the utility company.
Is there any way that, like Fleet Farm or the local tuning, shops that do oil changes would,
What you'll find is a lot of the places that do regular oil changes put in oil heaters back when it was a new product, a neat thing to do, using used oil to heat a shop, right? So everybody, like, mechanic shops, bus garages, so on and so forth, that did their own oil changes, put those heaters in, thinking that, we're gonna have an abundance of oil and we'll be able to heat the shops, so on and so forth. So the used oil market is very competitive. We can certainly do some advertisements, some marketing to let people know that we still have that service, and that's probably a good idea. And we can use maybe some of the funds out of here to do some marketing push. But it's challenging, to say the least. We can buy used oil from a company that will go and collect used oil from a school district or something like that. They'll resell it back to us, but they won't give it to us for free. So. East garage. Those all stayed the same. West garage. You following with me? West garage, it has contractual services, utilities, electric, gas. You saw the bump in the electric and the gas on the west garage. The electric was bumped $250 just to reflect the, the expenditures in 2018. Same thing with the gas, the same explanation there. Street maintenance. If you look in miscellaneous contract service, or no, I'm sorry, other contractual services, bump that $5,000. The reason being, there's a lot of hesitation in the, so basically other contractual services that goes towards our street painting, our weed maintenance, weed control, snow hauling. And so there's a lot of consternation about weed control out in the United States right now. There's some litigation out on the West Coast in regards to spraying, Roundup, so on and so forth, and the effects on individuals. And so what I want to see the city do is move towards hiring a majority of those services out instead of having our staff continue to do those in-house. Just because I want to push the liability off and onto the professional companies that do this for a living. I'm not saying that the guys don't follow all the proper procedures and wear the proper PPE, but I just don't want to put the city in jeopardy in the future of having something come back on us. So, like for example, this year, we hired out all the spraying of the medians on Carmichael and Crestview, all the island medians, so on and so forth, that grow the weeds. And I want to continue to see that. On Crestview, the barriers on Crestview and Cooley, that barrier from 94. Just want to kind of maybe start picking up some of these other spots that we can add onto the contract and have a professional service company come in and do it for us.
Is there any way that we could look to not using such toxic things? And I've had experience, and I actually was the recipient of glyphosate. Glyphosate in the Roundup. That killed one of the trees in my yard from using using a yard service. So I know it can be very toxic. Is there any way that we could turn to something more environmentally and human friendly, rather than the poisons that we know are harming the environment and our population?
There are products out on the market, and I've used several of them because this has been, I've ran into this issue in my previous place of employment too, and we use more bio-friendly products, so on and so forth. They just don't work as well as a Roundup. And it's sad to say, but it's just, if you're having to go back every other week to spray the weeds to keep them knocked down, we don't have the staff or the time to do that. Whereas if you apply, a Roundup, let's just say, you're only there for 2 applications for the whole summer. There are other communities that are going to that, burning, but it just comes down to the labor aspect and the time. It's tough, right? Because we all know that it's not probably the best. Like you said, you had issues at your home with a tree getting killed, and there's more and more research coming out, both for and against, and it's debatable. It turns into a political issue. We can certainly look to do that, but I'm just going to let you know that we're not going to have the staff available to do more of the environmentally friendlies unless we hire more people or we find a company that would do the bio-friendly applications, but then they're going to probably cost 2 times as much. It's certainly something that I can look into if you would like.
Oh, it sounds like maybe we could, could we identify other solutions, like more of this, the liners that we're putting around the trees? That's a weed preventer, right? Can we find more places that we could use something else that won't require any weed control? And then therefore reducing the amount of Roundup that we would have to use in the city limits in general, you know what I mean? If there's places that we could just, I don't know, I'm just throwing out some ideas
Yeah.
to minimize the human damage and the environmental damage as well.
Okay.
Or areas that maybe we're preventing weeds that we don't care if there were weeds.
Right. Yeah, and we actually did last year, this last contract cycle, or I should say, this summer, we drastically reduced a lot of our 2,4-D spraying in some of the right-of-ways, eliminated, like you said, eliminating those spots that, why are we even spraying weeds here? It really makes no sense, you know? So we did eliminate a lot of that and concentrate more on the higher visibility areas, like I said, Carmichael, Crestview, Cooley, where you want it to look presentable to the public. So,
So I would just encourage you to continue to do it as much of that every year as you
Yeah.
can.
okay.
Thanks.
All right, noted.
I'm recalling that a few years ago that perhaps, and I may have this all messed up, but that we were looking at some herbicides for more general use, not Roundup, not kill it, but herbicide control products that were more friendly. And I don't recall, that's about what I recall. So maybe ask Kevin if he recalls where we did that. And I'm thinking Lakefront Park.
Okay.
Trying to get some things that we need some herbicide control there, but trying to, something that was less human, more human friendly.
Sure.
Let's put it that way. That's my memory of it. So but that's another aspect of the same thing, only
Yeah.
where we have people, are going to have people contact. But what progress has been made in that area.
Okay. Roadway supplies and signs, up that $5,000. We run into a situation last year and this year where this is the line item where we take all of our street painting. So all of the crosswalks, painted yellow curbs, parking stalls, so on and so forth. And the same thing that happened last year is the city purchased that riding unit, and it's very, very efficient. The guys can cover a lot of ground, and they're painting more and more, and they're painting so fast that it's the first and second week in August, and as you can see, we're already over budget, and so we have to say, sorry guys, we have no more money to continue to paint crosswalks and yellow curb, and it's a shame because you still got August and September, 2 decent months to still paint yet, and we can't paint anymore. So basically, I'm looking to raise that line item up so that we can actually continue to paint, at least to get to Labor Day, because it makes such a difference in, like I said, the crosswalks, pedestrian safety, yellow curbing for no parking issues, so on and so forth. So that's why that one is raised up $5,000. If you look down to ice control chemicals, this is the big one.
I believe you also had a comment in there that you were going on a 2-year, trying to get to
Yep.
a 2-year cycle on repainting.
Yes.
Except some things will sure have to be done every year.
Yep.
But
I'm trying, yep. So there are certain crosswalks around schools we hit every year, downtown areas, those higher visibility areas that we hit every year. But I'm looking to get the whole town, the whole city on a 2-year cycle where we cover half the town this year, cover the half town next year, just keep it on a 2-year cycle. The paint nowadays, it's more economically friendly, which is good. The bad thing is it it doesn't seem to last as long. So we're having to paint more and more and more to keep up. So, ice control chemicals. So last year we budgeted 75,000. This year, up that up to 100,000, up 25,000, which is a big jump. There's a reason.
Called snow.
It's called snow and, yeah. So every year, state contract comes out and basically all Wisconsin communities enter into the state contract, bulk pricing, so on and so forth. And companies bid on a state contract, and this year, the state contract for a ton of salt came in at $71.59. Last year, just for your reference, the total per ton, it was $67.54. So it's a difference of $4.05 per ton more than what it was in last year, okay? So if you do the math, we are required, we take 1,600 tons of salt every year. We're not doing an early fill because our salt shed is full from last year, which is a good thing, right? Some carryover. So we take 1,600 ton. So if you times that, times $71.59, you get a total of $114,544. We're required to take that from the state.
Wow.
Okay. So if you look on the next page, so that gives you an idea of why I had to bump that up to 100,000. And you're probably saying we still got 14,500 to go. If you look on the next page, Public Works, Highways 94 and 35, we have ice control chemicals there as a line item in the amount of 29,000. Okay, so between the two of them, you get 129,000. All right. So that covers the salt alone. And then we also have expenses for brine, for beet heat, additives that help in those colder temperatures. So that's the reasoning why I had to adjust that number. Okay.
Yep.
That doesn't include, so like I said, we're required to take 1,600. We do have the option. We have 320 ton in reserve. And then council has a contingency, a snow contingency.
They
that
did.
We
yeah.
did.
Yeah.
But our goal is to stay to that 1,600 tons of salt every year.
Last year,
Or under.
we had an issue because of a general salt supply.
Yep.
Are we
February
in
was
better
brutal.
shape this year because we're starting out the year with the
Yeah, we
full
didn't have to
supply or
pay.
not?
Yeah, you would certainly think so. If we run into a February like we had last year, the demand is gonna be there, and we'll probably run into the same situations. When we look at building a public works facility and, 5-10 years out or whatever, we're gonna look at putting in enough storage so that we can get all of our salt up front, so we're not having to scramble, because we ran into situations last February where we were telling guys, only put it on the hills, that's it, So hopefully we don't have to run into that situation this year. There's only so many trucks that can leave the salt facilities, and, there's priorities, state gets priority counties, and then it gets trickled down to the cities, municipalities, so on and so forth. So it was a challenging February and March, to say the least. So, and that's why, in fact, we have a full salt shed, because we weren't able to get our shipments when we were ordering. They're like, we'll get to you when we get to you. It's like, all right, we're kind of at the mercy of the haulers and the mines. And so we got through those heavy parts in February, March, and then we were looking in April, in May, and all of a sudden, oh, we got salt ready for you. And it's like, well, where were you 2 months ago, And so they brought it, and we were able to fit all of it in the shed, and that's why we have a full shed this year going into it. So anyways, that's the reason for that jump in that expenditure. Snow and ice removal, we went through the Public Works, Highway 9435.
No change there.
Yep, no change there. Street lighting, no changes to street lighting.
I see on the contractual services for electric, at 110, which is no change from this year's budget. However, if you look at 17 and 2018, we're quite a bit higher than what we're budgeting for. Is there a particular reason for that?
Yep. So in 2017 and 2018, the city of Hudson went through a transition for all their lighting, street lighting. They went to all LED
Oh,
overhead lights. So now we're able to kind of see some of those cost savings in the budget.
So we've been able to reduce it every year, but we didn't really reduce it this time because the new developments and
Right.
things like that. So we don't really have a handle on that yet. But,
Right.
we have been reducing it every year, been able to take, 30,000, 40, and put it other places in the budget. This year,
Yeah, we kind of just left it and just kind of see where
it falls?
it falls with Brecken and Lee and Atwood and, some of these developments that are becoming online here soon. So,
Good. Thanks.
move over to street signs and markings.
Mike, what's,
Yeah.
what's the difference between that page and under Public Works Street Maintenance page where it says roadway supply signs? Is that a different,
Yep.
which line?
so
So
under,
he's looking at the, go
under
ahead.
the street maintenance page where it says like, we upped it like 5,000, I think, for the
363.
roadway supply signs. I'm just trying to figure out what the difference is between that and street signs and markings.
So,
Oh, you mean between?
Yeah, are they two different items?
Oh. It's you mean why there's one in there and one in?
Yeah.
Well, it's usually the streets, the 53,300, the street maintenance account, we usually do a lot of barricades and cones and things like that, whereas the other
Okay.
one is more signs, street signs, stop signs, yield signs. and-
Oh, gotcha.
And we had increased that years back to meet the visibility requirements that were
Okay.
demanded. I don't know where exactly they are right now, but we seem to, it seems like we're getting caught up, don't you think?
The retroreflectivity requirements.
the reflective-
Yeah, we change out
Yeah.
every year. we
So
change
that's
out
why it was bumped up years back for that road
Gotcha.
signs.
I was just trying to figure out the
You know, and
difference.
maybe it could,
Okay.
maybe there could be a little fluctuation in that, but
Yep.
that's the difference between those two are. Like work ahead signs and, those kind
Yeah.
of signs all come out of the street maintenance versus the.
Okay.
roadways.
Which one are we on, Jim? Street signs and markings.
Now ready for traffic
Traffic
signals.
signals, no changes to traffic signals.
Traffic signal.
You don't anticipate any
I thought there was a
pedestrian
change in
walkway
traffic.
signs, or are they more sophisticated? Is that where this would be?
Yeah. You're talking like your user activated.
Right.
Oh, you mean to change the,
So like pedestrian crossing signage?
yeah, signage, yeah, that would all come out of signals. That kind of that's where it would come out of.
It would come out of there, not
Nothing on the horizon at this point.
street signs and markings.
No,
No?
usually we just, the ped crossings and anything related to that kind of stuff, we always, I guess it doesn't
Nothing-
really matter. I mean, we can use either one, but technically, we've always used the other one, so.
Nothing that I foresee next year, Jim, as far as doing that. I know in 2021, when we do Second Street that goes through downtown and through, north of Vine there, we'll do some updating with some of the ped crossings there on St. Croix.
But will that be part of the project?
That'll be a part of the project,
As
right?
opposed to coming out of the operating budget?
Yep. One of the exciting things that I'm looking forward to having Dean Chamberlain on board, the new engineer. He has a background in traffic engineering and pedestrian safety, and he's very passionate about that. So I can't wait to get him in and take him around town and get his thoughts, especially now that we have the sidewalk inventory and ped ramp assessment done. Looking for improvements in the future and get his thoughts on appropriate places to place those things. Because typically, you know, a city is supposed to go through a review process, you know, if you put this here, what are the effects on the traffic coming up to it? What are you backing up to? So on and so forth. There is a process that you typically go through, engineering review, so on and so forth, that Dean will be able to do in-house, and make his recommendations. So, that would be a nice thing moving
Great.
forward. Yeah.
When is Dean coming on board? Shortly.
Monday.
Oh,
His
say.
first day. Yep. Can't wait to get him here.
So Mike, on the sidewalks and crosswalks, it's just like 1,000?
Yep.
Is that just because it's not the capital improvement projects?
Yep,
And
correct.
that's where the 75,000 is annually?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. Yep. So yeah, we have sidewalks, crosswalks, curb and gutter, 1,000, no
Same with
changes.
this curb and gutter.
Budget's looking awfully stable,
Well,
very stable.
it's, you know, when you have to raise your budget 25 grand to cover the cost of salt, it's hard to raise in other spots too. It's like, I'd bring it to finance committee and it'd be a 100% increase in your budget and I'd get laughed out of the room, you know?
Right.
So, with that up there, it's hard to make adjustments in other areas, so.
Yeah, and this doesn't include personnel.
Right.
So that's probably a
the biggest.
more
Right. So land,
volatile piece.
yep, landfill mowing operations
Does include some
stays the same, and then
urban forestry.
yeah, the shade tree control, urban forestry, raise the emerald ash board line item $6 grand, and that would help cover continuing the treatments that we have started back in 2015. So every 3 years, we're treating. We have identified 110 trees in the city, and they're on a 3-year. I'm sorry, it's 40 trees a year, 40, 80, 120. 120 trees, and every year we're hitting 40 trees, 40 trees, 40 trees, and we're just treating those until, you know, at some point in time, that expense will go away because it'll come up to a point where, does it make sense to treat all these? Maybe we treat only 50 of them, but for now, just putting some money into the budget to help offset some of those costs. And then we've ran into situations this year where we're starting to see some deterioration in certain neighborhoods. Grandview Drive, or 17th Street in particular, and we're getting calls in, and we'll continue to get calls for high hazard ash trees, and we got to have monies in the emerald ash board line item to continue removals.
So that's the removal is there as well as the treatment.
Yep. Anything related to ash trees comes out of that line item.
Okay.
Yep. So that's that. So in your narrative, so after all that is said and done, let's see here.
I guess I would move to approve the Public Works operating budget.
Second.
As adjusted,
As adjusted.
is that a,
As presented?
As presented, I don't think we had any,
We had that
Adjustments.
we had that one adjustment on the,
The 14,500, yeah.
oh, right.
yep,
yeah, right, that's the only thing we,
On the City Hall cupola.
The third floor.
yep. Okay.
it's been moved and seconded that we accept this, we move forward with this budget, present it to the city council, or as, I guess, going through the budget process, let me rephrase that.
Right.
Where all the budgets come to budget heaven, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Mike. Good job.
Yeah, thanks both of you for your work on that. I know budgeting's not that much fun.
Right.
Then just a quick, big picture question. So the capital improvement, remember last meeting where you were talking about if we invested X number, we would make more of a dent? Is that all, that's a different budget, or is that's capital improvement?
Yeah.
Just to clarify, okay.
Yep. So our capital bonding cycle is every other year, so we're set for 2019, 2020.
Right.
All right, so next budget cycle, we'll start talking about capital improvement
Okay.
bonding for 2021, 2022.
Got it.
And that'll be the time that we look at adjusting that number.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
Did you take my utility budget?
I maybe did. Hey, sorry. You can move on to the next one.
Are you doing
Next
First
agenda.
Street building? Are you doing First Street building?
No, I didn't make any changes to that.
What are you doing? You're not doing First Street, you're doing just going to stormwater?
Yeah, stormwater utility. Use this one, Jim. I'll copy you.
I want the big print.
That's as big as it comes.
I actually had one here.
Did you
It
really?
was-
That's how we
it
got
wasn't
it.
here, yeah. Deb gave me one. Did you, is it over there somewhere?
In City Hall.
It's wrong.
Looking for the large print utility budget.
Oh, I have to squint for mine.
Yeah,
Oh, you have one like that?
Yes.
Okay.
should have blown it up. in-
Never mind then.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Okay,
Sorry, you have to get the magnifying.
we're good.
Yeah, I gotta bring a magnifying glass
Yeah.
next time.
Use some more light in here, couldn't we?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we vetoed new lights.
Yeah. So the first page is a stormwater summary of all the accounts. If you go to expenditures by activity, it's kind of the second box. It'll go street sweeping, collection system maintenance, storm lift stations, inspection, testing, monitor, so on and so forth. Those are the budget line items that I'm able to adjust and recommend expenditures on. So if you flip. It gives you kind of a summary of previous years and the proposed. Okay. So if you flip the page, top of the line, it says revenues in the dark.
Page.
On the black part?
Page 2 of 5. So top says revenues, proposed revenues for the stormwater utility fund in 2019 was $595,960. So every year, you know. See it?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So as a stormwater utility, you know, we're looking to spend close to or near that number every year.
Okay.
On capital projects, staff, street sweeping operations, lift station operations, so on and so forth. It almost acts, it's not an enterprise fund. Deb,
What's that?
stormwater utility enterprise fund.
Yes, it's an
Yes.
enterprise.
So, you know, through the budget, we're looking to spend that amount, and I don't know why that didn't populate, but one of the main things that I want to point out is under street sweeping, part-time wages. Last year, we had budgeted 0. The previous, let's see, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, we had budgeted 15,000. Last year, we budgeted 0. We tried to put a full-timer in the street sweeper. And what I found was by doing an allocated full-timer to street sweeping, is a lot of the other projects that we had to be completed weren't getting done. So the skills that a full-timer has, you know, doing storm sewer, catch basin repairs, relaying some pipe that have collapsed, so on and so forth, it was taking longer. And in fact, we didn't get to some of the projects that we had planned this year. And so what I'm proposing is to put monies back towards a part-timer to put into the budget. We were very fortunate to have a gentleman here, Chuck Perlock. He was a Hudson employee, City Hudson employee, and then he retired and just did part-time sweeping. Put him in the sweeper, didn't have to worry about him, ran it efficiently, you know, so on and so forth, covered the whole town. So I'm looking to do that, find a part-time person just for street sweeping operations, so we're not pulling our more skilled staff on that. So that's why I put that in the budget. Refuse services, I took that out completely. We had budgeted $5,000 every year. This was money that the city paid to haul their street sweepings off-site to a refuse facility. Unfortunately, all of the local refuse facilities that we had hauled to in the past are no longer accepting material. So we're having to find alternative ways to dispose of our street sweepings. So I'm in the process of applying to the state and getting an exemption to use our street sweepings as fill material for construction projects, so on and so forth. But there's a process that I have to go through. I have to get it chemically tested, make sure that it's not pollutant, need to get it cleaned, so on and so forth. So there's a process that I'll have to go through, but there's no option for us to take it off-site anymore, so there's really no reason to have that line item in the budget. Okay. Other contractual services, up that to $3,000, and that's to reflect having to go through the testing, having, clean, so on and so forth, so those monies will help pay for some of those requirements. Okay.
Is there a possibility that our street cleanings would not qualify? Like, they'd be too dirty or they not be cleanable?
Possibility.
So that would leave us in a
A bind.
predicament.
Yeah. Yep. So it may limit some of the uses of the material.
Okay.
It might not be used for street fill, but it might be used. We have a couple leads where a person's looking to build up their property, so on, stuff like that. So it may limit where we can put the material, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it comes back, that we just have to clean and get the
Right.
garbage out and we can use it as
Interesting.
anything, yeah. So, salary, wages, engineer, I just had that highlighted for Allison. Basically where she's looking to pay Dean's salary out of, so that's why I had that
Okay.
highlighted. Engineering on the bottom there, I reduced that by $8,000 because now that we have an engineer in-house, we're able, it's my thought or my recommendation that we reduce that because some of the engineering costs that we have been having to go out of, we're able to do that in-house now. So I reduced that by $8,000. We'll have Dean on board, we'll see what next year brings, and we might be able to reduce that even further next year. I just don't want to cut it off too much where he's not able to utilize some engineering services.
Yeah, for like,
Surprised at that.
especially
I thought
for,
it'd be more than that.
it's one thing to go through the preparations and all that. It's the printing and the bid documents don't have the
Sure.
capabilities of that yet, but
Sure.
I'm looking at this is the revenues as of 8/31 versus the anticipated or proposed revenues.
Right.
That's going to, if you use the 2/3 figure, that's going to fall way short of that number. Is there a concern, a reason? What should we think about that?
Perhaps it's that third and both quarters haven't been billed yet?
Quarters haven't been
Rather
billed.
than two?
Okay,
that's my
all right.
guess.
Since it's a quarterly billing,
So it's,
that would be my guess,
Yeah.
but, I mean, I might not be right, but.
That's true. Yep.
because otherwise it's a huge,
Oh, yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah, you're only at
Bump off.
half.
You're at
right?
half, and if you
Okay,
should be at
great.
68%.
Yeah.
but
great.
It's
Right.
quarterly billed, not monthly, so
Right.
it would make sense.
Yep. Yep. So collection systems, let's see, page 3 of 5. So stormwater projects, we kept the same. We had increased that from 2018 to 2019 to start maintaining our ponds. We tackled pond number 5 this year, or pond 141 by the post office, and we did some storm water repair work throughout the community. So we'll continue to, pick off ponds as we go and bring them up into compliance. So that's what that money goes for. And that was the reason why we upped the stormwater utility back in last year from $8 up to $12 to start going out and doing a lot of these projects that have been neglected over the years. And then finally, if you go to page 4. Page 4 or 5, stormwater lift stations. Reduced that $500. If you go down to administration, again, I highlighted this for Allison's purposes. The engineer part-time wages were coming out of administration. It's a matter of where she's going to want to take those monies out of. Other than that, not a lot of changes there. And then finally, page number 5, stormwater utility. A reduction in engineering services again, a couple $1,000s. Like I said, same thing as before, now having an engineer in-house, able to reduce some of those costs. And then the final one, transfer to debt service fund, that was highlighted to ask Allison about for 2020. So, any questions?
I like this narrative better.
Yeah, right, exactly. You know, a lot of these questions that are in here and in the Public Works budget, you know, with Allison being new, you know, a lot of questions have to be answered yet from her finance department, what she recommends, how she wants to do it, you know, so on and so forth. So those are conversations that I'm sure will happen over the next couple weeks before we come to finance. We'll have everything neatly packaged. I was more concerned about, you know, the operating costs. What are we doing out in the field and how we spend the money? So
I would move to approve the stormwater utility operating budget.
I will second that.
So moved and seconded to approve the stormwater operating utility budget as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
It's what I kind of gathered is how the engineering charges are reallocated. And some of us, even though we won't be paying it out, we'll still have in some internal charges, but in
Yeah.
theory, they're going to be less,
Right.
significantly less than having to outsource it.
yeah, and that's my hope that, you know, next year budgeting cycle, we can reduce those line items and reappropriate some of those monies to other things too. It's just, you know, I don't want to cut him off at the knees and have him get in here and have nothing to work with if he needs to go out and do some things
Yeah.
too, you know, so I
Yeah.
want to get a year under his belt and see what he needs for the next year.
Yep.
So,
Good. Moving right along. Project update, Vine Street, street lights, storm sewer repair, City Hall windows.
hand me that. I'll buzz right through them here. All right, Vine Street Improvement Project, just hitting a couple punch list items. We got some street signs installed, we got the curb painted, looking to do some boulevard restoration work. So that'll be done. I've heard nothing but good things about the intersection portion of that project, so.
I've heard some negative things.
Oh, have you?
But,
right.
but I don't particularly agree with them.
Yeah.
Since we helped design it.
Yeah.
But, no, yeah, it makes sense to me. And we're still,
Yep. Streetlight replacement project, this is on Stage Line Road. We just got the shipment of streetlights in last Friday, so Neo Electric will schedule those replacements here over the next couple of months and get that project completed. Storm sewer repair project, Albrightson came in and did a majority of this work between the last Public Works Committee and this Public Works Committee. We hit Chestnut. There was a stormwater repair on Third Street, up by Walgreens on Carmichael. A lot of pond work in pond number 5, resetting structures, fixing some structures that collapsed. So yeah, they're wrapping up. They're pretty much all done with their project. So that was completed here. And then finally, the City Hall window replacement, as you can see from the dumpster outside and the lift that's outside, that project has started. They're about halfway through the building and look to complete that probably by the end of next week if the weather cooperates. So yeah, that's what I got for you.
Sounds good.
all right. Is there anything else that we need to talk about that we want on the agenda for next time?
I don't have anything.
Nothing from me. It'd be nice to maybe discuss our next meeting date.
That would be nice. I actually, my calendar has a date of the October 28th, but
Is that Monday?
it's a Monday. But
There you go.
I have no clue where that came from.
Look, I think originally we were on like the fourth Wednesday or something like that.
On the
Tuesday.
first
Fourth
Tuesday, and then we
Tuesday.
went, now we're back to the
That-
Monday, fourth Monday after council or
All I
something.
can say, it happens, it does work on my calendar. How's
Yeah,
that?
I will be out of town on the 28th. I
Okay.
would be in town on the 21st. But we have city council that night.
I don't have my calendar on me. Can we do it via, can we put out some dates via email,
Well, just a heads up that the,
the next one?
yeah,
But-
sure, we can go by
fourth-
email to try to find a date that I can be here, but for the
Can
rest
we-
of this month, I'm here from the 14th till the 21st.
Okay.
So you'll be here for the budget meeting for city council,
The 21st, yes.
so that's most important. As long as these two.
If we want another public works,
Yeah, I would like to get it down to, I mean, my preference would be if we just kept it on a regular basis, whatever that is.
and then I'll just miss the next one as well, and I'm sorry, I've had so much travel the last week of the month.
So is that really turning out to be a very bad time for you
Not,
on a routine,
Norm,
on a
it
routine
wouldn't-
basis, or do you?
it shouldn't be, but in October, it will always be.
Yeah.
But
I can
that's
do,
a year
I
away.
can just send out the fourth Monday of the month, then you guys can check.
The fourth Mondays?
Fourth Monday.
Yes, that's a start.
Yep.
But what's your thoughts about having it the same day as the finance and council meetings?
First and third.
Well, at least on the third, like the third Monday,
You mean like at
of having it
5
prior to
o'clock or 4:30 or something?
4:30.
5
does that-
o'clock.
Yeah.
I
usually
think
do
that's going to
5
be
o'clock.
tough for me to get to. Yeah, I would rather have it the fourth Monday, not on a council night, would be a lot easier for me. Plus, some of those council meetings are quite lengthy, so I don't think we need to start any earlier.
5 to 10:30, 11 o'clock.
What's the problem?
You just can't go back to Tuesdays, because Tuesdays are just too
Yeah,
congested.
I'm good
and-
with the Monday if we know it ahead of time. Also, that helps me a lot to
That's-
plan out.
I-
Does
Well,
that
we're gonna
work
have
for
to
you,
f-
Mike?
You know, I'd really like for all three of us to be here. It's
Yep.
hard to, it even feels awkward to be yesing each other.
Well, I have a thought, can we just not meet in October and just meet and get on the rotation starting in November?
I don't see why, you don't have anything, Michael, do you? Right now, it's like we could say,
things are
yeah,
starting to kinda
because you got
ramp
the
up.
budget, and you're gonna have budget meetings and things like that coming up, I don't.
Yeah, if we were to have it on the 21st, I don't even know if I'd have anything for you. That's only
So, yeah.
Right,
less than
right.
3 weeks to choose, so-
And I'm not seeing, I'd be surprised if we're gonna have any significant issues over the budget.
Mhm.
It's, so that would require us to agree to whatever Mike has to work out, but,
I mean,
And if that's the
you'll all
case,
have,
then
you'll
you'll.
have a chance to comment at the council meeting
Sure.
too. So not like you won't see it again if finance committee has some changes they want to see made.
So if we skipped October, would that work for you?
Mm-hmm. I'll be back in
And then
November. Mhm.
So we're,
Date in November. Have it handy.
Oh, I come back just in time for the city council meeting on the 18th.
Okay. What's the fourth? I can't see it.
The fourth
25th.
Monday would be the 25th
Okay, fourth.
of November.
of November. Oh,
Okay, so we'll definitely plan on that.
anybody, well, actually, that's not a holiday weekend,
It's the Monday after.
It's a Monday, though.
the Monday before.
drats.
Thanksgiving is on the
The
28th.
25th.
Yeah, it's really late this year.
Oh, wow.
At least that's
It's the
what my
week
calendar's telling me.
before
Yeah, you're right.
Thanksgiving. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Are you in town?
28th is, so, yeah, it's before
Well, yeah,
Thanksgiving.
Thursday is Thanksgiving.
So, okay, let's,
Do it on like a Saturday morning for coffee?
Absolutely.
I
We're going
hate
to
to say this,
Buddies
and I do have two things pending on the 25th already, and I'm very sorry. It's because I hadn't written in,
Yeah.
so,
That's my thing too, if we write it out. I
yeah,
think it's gonna be a lot
that's
easier
way it'll
to
be
do.
easier, but yeah, I have tickets to a holiday concert at Leo Kaki and another thing, and, yeah, it's on the 25th. We should go to all that. We should all go.
Didn't know that. Okay,
We
25th
could
is
do a
out.
morning one, if you, morning doesn't work for you though.
What
does
time's
it?
your concert?
I have a 4 o'clock and then dinner, and then 7:30 is the concert. It's all in Minneapolis. I don't think I'll make it back. I am sorry.
How does the 26th look? That's a Tuesday.
That's plan commission, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not that, it
Just keep it the fourth Monday, and if Sarah can make it, she can make it.
That's what I would probably do.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. If we'll
Is
just
that-
keep it that Monday, and then I won't schedule
I think as we get
anything.
out, it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
help
just,
us
yeah.
to be,
It's best if
gonna
you
help
just
us
stay
in the
consistent.
long
I know
run.
it's great to have three, but it's,
Yeah.
doesn't always work that way.
So in December, just to put it out there already, why not talk about it? The 23rd, which is the day before Christmas Eve, is actually the fourth
Yeah, it is.
Monday,
And that's
or
gonna be-
the 30th is the fifth
And that's,
Monday.
Yeah.
What's that?
that's
So
probably
the
gonna be a
23rd
tough
of
week.
it,
Usually the holiday week is just.
I will not be here the 30th, so it's, so
Oh,
someone wants to
man.
run a meeting, we'll meet on the 23rd.
Oh, I mean,
Are you in
you're all
town?
three there, here on the
I wasn't
23rd.
gonna be here. I was
I don't think I'm gonna be
With
here.
the kiddos.
Okay?
I have
won't-
to be-
Mike
I don't
won't
have to
be
be
here.
here,
Extended weekend.
as long as everybody else is here.
Maybe the third Thursday.
Or,
let's do it via email.
yeah, do you know how to do a doodle or something like that? No?
Doodle?
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
We'll figure
You
it out.
you just list out a bunch of dates and our names, and then it's very simple, and then we all go in and put green dots at ones
Kinda
we
if
would
you
be
took-
able to attend.
Maybe took a look at
I've
the
never used
the
that
last 2
doodle,
weeks
but
of
I've
every
done it
month.
just regular.
List all
old-fashioned.
10 dates and then say, try to figure out if there is a date where all three are available.
Yeah. I mean, I think November and
And
December
for
are
a
just
timeframe, Paul,
the tricky ones.
is, it, you know,
But the
is-
rest should be not be
is
bad.
5 your, kind of your
5 is probably the
best
earliest I
best you
can.
can?
5 o'clock is the good time, right? 5 is
Yep.
the good.
Yeah, I can do 5. That's the earliest, I think.
Okay.
That works.
All right. Let's try the doodle thing for the.
I'm
let's
gonna
look
try
at the-
doodle.
For the next
I
two
want
months.
to know how to do
It-
that.
Next 3
It's
months.
fun.
Okay.
If people fill it out, it
Well,
works. for
if we
me.
did,
And then coming January, we'll start on fourth Monday, and we'll just
Yes.
plop it in.
Yeah, that I can definitely go with.
yeah,
Yep,
Yep.
and January.
So we can
good.
plot out January for
Let's- right.
the fourth Monday.
Sounds good.
And I'll miss February.
Yep, and then we'll just plug it in for the whole year. And, you know, and it's good for the public to, if the public can get back to used to knowing that this Public Works meets the fourth Monday of every month. Park Board meets first Tuesday.
Yeah.
Plan Commission, I mean, it used to always read that on the city website, and now just, we've been jumping around for
Right.
a while, so I think it's,
Used to be the fourth Tuesday when John used to.
I don't remember.
So what I hear
What
is
about-
that we'll plan on not having a meeting in October
Mm-hmm.
unless
Something pops up.
things start building, and then we'll have to pull
Yeah.
something together. And that we will schedule for November 28th. And, well, actually,
I'll
we'll
put it
take a
to-
doodle,
That's-
Yeah. Poll on the last 2 weeks of November
We're
and last
gonna-
2 weeks of December.
Yeah.
Try to
Doodle
find
poll
it.
for November, December. And then, just to throw a different idea out there, would it be possible to meet on third Wednesdays at 5? Then we would just go right up into the Urban Forestry Board.
Wouldn't for me, because we have our church programs Wednesday nights that I'm running, basically. But I will give you this, there's a possibility we can meet on a Tuesday morning in November or December, if that works for you.
I would,
Tuesday mornings.
I wouldn't do it a regular, but if we needed to do a special, like, I could do it there's some Tuesdays that I could get here Tuesday mornings, because we have a block schedule on
so
Tuesday.
on the doodle, include the 19th in the morning.
11:19?
Mm-hmm. And maybe a couple in December.
You got block scheduled
Early.
in December too.
We will have it probably the first 2 weeks. We probably don't have it the third week.
So,
Do we typically have a meeting in December, Public Works Committee?
Yeah, unless there's
So if we
something
just did
urgent.
well,
That's the other thing too, is typically we don't have one in December.
yeah.
Okay.
It usually always kind of gets to be like that around the holidays, only because the budget is already kind of done. If
Well,
The only thing
maybe-
I could see is
Talking
if Dean gets in here and we start talking about the 2020 storm sewer project, the 2020 road maintenance project, industrial, so on and so forth, we'll have
Yeah.
some of these plans that we're gonna have to approve. That would be the only thing I could see coming
Yeah.
down the pipeline that would be really important to get passed.
he probably won't have his feet on the ground well enough to
No.
help with some of the other, all the procedures that we've
No.
talked about having to rewrite.
Right.
So he won't be ready to help with that.
No.
At least I'm hoping he's gonna be to provide you some guidance, if not total assistance
Yeah.
in some of those projects.
Would it make sense to, if we're only gonna meet once throughout November, December, would it make sense to meet like December 9th? Like kinda in the middle of that time frame?
There you go.
It's open.
What day is it?
It's a Monday, the 9th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we don't have to doodle.
So then, December 9th, then we don't meet in October, and we're not meeting in November, and then you just meet December. I think that's perfect.
That's great. Will you send out an email reminder? So
I will.
I can
And
get
that'll
on
be
my
at 5 o'clock.
Perfect,
5?
perfect.
I don't have to do.
I would move to adjourn at this point.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I'm voting aye on
Aye.
adjourn.